Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Quite a bit. In fact, we can't plow through just about everything that's available today. So let's just take one of the biggies, talking about Ebonyi. Well, in Ebonyi State, the governor is out, according to a high court. Not just him, his deputy as well, and not just them. Also, a substantial number of the members of the House of Assembly, all of whom won their elections on the ticket of PDP, and then decamped to APC. Well, so the state of the story, so to speak, is that a High Court judge has said that any votes cast in any election in Nigeria actually belong to the party. And so when these people, the governor, his deputy governor, and the members of the House of Assembly, when they decamped, when they moved over to the APC, they were effectively resigning, according to his lordship. So we'll look at that today as one subject when we come to the other. So let's, first of all, let me introduce Malaki, and our sincere thanks to Malaki Ugumadu, constitutional former president, CDHR. As you can see, we virtually hijacked him on the way to court, or whether, but thank you anyway, my brother. Thank you very, very much for coming
the opportunity.
on. Indeed.
It's part of our commitment.
Indeed. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Dario Dufawoko, assistant editor of The Nation newspaper, a regular here, an expert on local politics. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Okay, let's start off with the package that we put out yesterday on our main news bulletin. We'll then come back and talk about it in studio.
Citing Section 221 of the Constitution, Justice Inyang Eku about the People's Democratic Party to immediately send names of replacements for Governor of Ebonyi State and his deputy to INEC so as to conduct fresh elections. Justice Eku held, having defected to the APC, Governor David Umani and his deputy Eric Igwe cannot transfer the mandate of the PDP to the APC. The court also ordered INEC to cease from recognizing David Umani and Eric Igwe as the governor and deputy governor of Ebonyi State. The court declared a defection unlawful, unconstitutional, null and void, and ordered them to immediately vacate their offices. In same vein, delivering judgment in a suit by the People's Democratic Party, the court ordered the Speaker of the House of Assembly and his co-defectors to immediately stop holding themselves as members of the Ebonyi State House of Assembly. The judge held that the votes that brought them to office belong to the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and that the legislators cannot hold on to the vote, having elected to defect from the party that nominated them. Justice Eku also held that the votes cast for the PDP in the 2019 elections are not transferable to the APC that failed in the election. He restrained INEC from recognizing or according any recognition to them as elected members of the House of Assembly.
The Supreme Court has ruled and said there is no provision against the defection of the president, vice president, governor, or deputy governor. So, is the court making a judgment different from that of the Supreme Court? It is obvious.
Ministry of Justice. I say so because the Federal High Court here did rely on the provisions in the Electoral Act that relate to pre-election and election matters. Even citing the case of Amechi shows that this is a clear case of an error in law. Like the council has said, we're going to challenge this in the Court of Appeal.
Justice Eku ordered that all monies collected from the top period of a defection to the judgment date must be recovered from them. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, so there we have it, the verdict as given by Federal High Court in Abuja, presided over by Justice Eku Inyang. That's his stand. Okay, this is very much a matter of the law. Let's stay in the law because there are other parameters. But the justice said that the judge said that any votes cast in any election in Nigeria belong to the political party sponsoring the candidate. And so using that logic, the victory really was the PDP's. And if he moved across to another party, in this case APC, him and anybody else who deigned to do as much were just effectively resigning. And the judge went further to advise, should I use that word, advise INEC to, quickly organize, let PDP submit a replacement.
He actually mandated them. He ordered them.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Which is beyond the adversary.
Okay.
In any case, whatever the judge says, pursuant to section 287 of the Constitution, is bound to be enforced. That is what the Constitution says. In this case, Federal High Court, section 287, subsection 3, every person, every institution is bound, is obligated to comply with the judgment of court. But that is not your question. Your question is as to...
Well, it's good to know too.
So where we are is what has just happened. Like I did say in one of the front pages in the paper today, it has introduced a fresh vista, a fresh perspective to, if you like, settled areas of the law. The judiciary in Nigeria, no less the apex court, has had cause to deal with this particular sets of facts and concluded them before now. So it came as a surprise, with due respect to the Honorable Court that handled that matter, when his own judgment turned out the way it turned. But the facts are there. I have not personally read the certified copy of the judgment, but we have, managed to see the excerpts from newspaper reporting to observe that the judge was largely influenced by what the Constitution says under section 221, which is to the effect that it shall be the party that will canvass for votes and sponsor a candidate in an election. That position is well known. And that position of the Constitution also came before appellate courts in other cases that have been decided. And in those other cases, needless to begin to mention, the court took the view that, yes, it is true, but ultimately, those votes belong to the candidate, because it is the candidate who will be sworn in and not the political party.
Okay.
And then went on to say that the political parties are the vehicles, and they are, more or less agents of the candidate who have been voted for. So what has happened is has thrown some fresh perspective to settled areas of the law, and I guess that is why the anxiety has heightened in the last 24 hours.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Dari, it's not as if this is all that strange as a concept. We've heard about, in fact, the first place your mind will go to, perhaps Malaki alluded to it in an oblique manner, is the whole Amechi case. This is where it all started from, where we began to see this kind of thing. So what's your perspective on all of this? Because the judge, and as Malaki has just said, whatever the judge says goes. Even though we can assume that Governor Umahi and all the other guys are going to be appealing. They have the right of appeal.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be happening anytime soon.
But not immediately.
Yes, but as Malaki was saying, he, as a legal practitioner, this is already a settled matter, and therefore he was surprised. How about you?
That it's a settled matter, I would say, is in our assumption, and I'm glad the barrister made it clear that the Constitution did say that votes, it is the party that will canvass for votes and sponsor candidates. And by interpretation, they are the legal minds here. By interpretation, it has been said that votes belong to the party severally. That is also almost not disputed. However, there is a section of the Constitution which Umahi and his defense are clinging on to the most in this case. The fact that a sitting governor enjoys immunity and therefore cannot answer to charges. cannot be indicted, cannot be prosecuted or what have you. But in all this, I am glad this is happening, and I'll tell you why. We are testing our books the more. Up to the Supreme Court, we've seen governors defecting and winning. The court saying, look, you can't remove them just because of that. While our constitution insists, you cannot take the vote of PDP to APC. That's what the constitution says. But in another breath, the constitution says, because he's a sitting governor, allow him to finish his term. If it is not pre-election matters. You can see the contradiction. I see a contradiction, like many others in our constitution. And I think cases like this will help to test these rules, these laws, these provisions of our constitution, and it will enrich our judicial experiences. Now, what I see in this case is, woman has been told in clear terms by a court, you have to vacate because the people of Ebonyi voted for PDP. It is explainable just on the surface of it, but what does the law say? And what will the law eventually say? These are the important things in this matter, because we've had what the law said in some cases. This is a new one. A court has said, no, he has to go. There is a chance of appeal. I'm sure he's going to take it. What will the appellate court say? And at the end of the day, what is going to be the reference, as lawyers say? What are they going to be referencing in future about this new line of argument? For somebody a lawyer just said something now, that the Supreme Court has made it clear that for the president, the vice president, the governor, the deputy governor, you cannot do this to them because of defection. That lawyer was silent on what will happen to the assembly members. What is the constitution saying about assembly members? Can they hide under the same excuses, legal excuses, that can possibly exonerate Umahi and his deputy? These are questions begging for answers, and only the legal minds as well as the legal process can shed light on all this.
Well, the Governor Umahi has said already, quite frankly, his response has been angry, as far as I can tell. He's been quite angry, not exactly the judicial kind of language you use in cases like this. The governor said that the judge, Justice Inyang, lacks the power to remove him. And some missiles flying here and there.
He went beyond that. He even categorically insisted that they were not going to obey.
Yes, he said it's very much in place.
That is too far, as far as I'm concerned.
Does that amount to contempt?
It is contemptuous, for a sitting governor to make that kind of skating screecher leaves much to be desired. He even went to the extent of close to indicting him, mentioning that there were, on the last count, about 10 cases involving Ebonyi State, that is before this particular judge, and that he wondered how they will all turn out, and then concluded by saying that it is he's scared because it appears to him that once judgment can be bought, then Nigeria is in trouble. These are very heavy
and very loaded
statements. He is angry, understandably, but he needn't go that far. On the spur of the moment, he needed more moderation, more circumspection, more than he has exhibited. That said, let me take advantage of this to respond to my colleague who has raised Dare, who has raised very germane questions. First of all, it is true that the Constitution, and no person should forget that a Constitution is an organic, basic law. It does not dabble into everything. Otherwise, it will be more than 10 volumes. The Constitution makes provision under Section 68, 1G, regarding what happens to members of the legislature when they defect, whether at the state level or at the federal level, provided, of course, that you are able to justify it as a result of division or crisis in the party that sponsored you. In other words, they are liberty to move once they're able to predicate their cross-carpeting on the crisis in the existing party. That is with respect to the legislature. The Constitution did not go that far with respect to occupants of executive offices, president, governor, vice president, deputy governors. And you would recall that around 2013 or thereabout, this whole situation played out with Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, who was then the vice president, left PDP for APC, and His Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo could not stomach all of this and literally declared his seat vacant. Of course, he went to court and then won. Then the matter was appealed both at the appellate court and at the Supreme Court. The courts took concurrent positions that the fact that he defected, the fact that he left PDP for APC does not invalidate his position, and that he cannot be removed on account of that. That was a Supreme Court position, which is what has just happened now. You recall that Professor Ben Oyede had also left, and a couple of others in Zamfara State. That was what happened. So this is precisely why we took the view that quite a number of cases had come before appellate courts even after this incident, that will clearly show that we have moved beyond the Amechi case, as well as which insisted that.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to round off that even the Electoral Act had also been amended under Section 141 to make the Amechi case obsolete. Okay. Those are not the guiding principles any longer.
Mr. Joshua in Irewolide, good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, good morning, sir, and good morning to your guests.
Thank you for calling in.
The judiciary, Uncle Yori, should be aware that the Nigerian public are quite enlightened now. We're in the era of the media, and there's information everywhere. We watch Supreme Court judgments, proceedings on matters of election, and all these cases. I think that the Supreme Court has made a pronouncement concerning defection of governors, executive people, and all that. And the judgment of the Supreme Court should stand.
Correct.
I think somebody is just trying to create confusion coming to the election now. So, and we should check it. As far as I'm concerned, this is not something very professional. I think I will regard it as a supermarket judgment. I don't know what guided the judge to make this pronouncement, but on sound grounds, if the Supreme Court has affirmed a position, I think the Supreme Court should be respected by all judges so that we don't start causing confusion for ourselves. I stand with the governor. Nobody should rattle him. We have examples of governors that have deflected to other parties, and I think the same treatment given to them should be given to this governor. I don't know why his case is different. Okay. I respect what everybody is saying, but professionalism should be upheld going forward. Uncle Yori, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you think, Dari, also that somehow there's some inconsistency here that would be injurious to Umahi, the law being what it is? The law is the law.
No. I don't see inconsistencies. Like I said earlier, I see an opportunity to once again enrich our understanding of our own laws. I am not one to agree that because the Supreme Court already said something in a similar, I'll call it similar cases, or in similar cases. There were similar cases. The circumstances may just be, you know how the law operates, a little difference in circumstances and the judgment will change. We don't know what the judge precisely is relying upon to turn the other around in this case. But his argument has been established.
Yes.
He has, molded it into a judgment.
Yes.
for all of us to hear and be aware of. Let's have other judges tinker with it, examine it, argue his position for and against, and tell us. Probably you may be surprised that other judges may also find some reasons to agree with him, and they may disagree with him. As we go on testing this particular, it's a particular case. Don't forget, there is a case in Zamfara currently that I will not call the same again. It's just similar. If you look at circumstances, the law says there must be a division for lawmakers. The law is silent on reason why the governor or president can defect. But the law has already told, once he's a sitting governor, you can try him. Maybe that's why the constitution did not bother to go any further. But we have the Electoral Act, we have other acts here and there that can now be relied upon by lawyers and judges and the entire judicial system to explain this particular case. Let's take it as it comes, one at a time. Let's end up with, let's conclude on Umaye and his co-travelers. Then maybe the people in Zamfara will start learning how to sit down when they're on their chairs.
So the beauty of what we have in our judicial system is that the governor reserves his right to appeal, regardless of what the judgment has stated. That way, the appellate courts will have an opportunity to restate the law or take a different position as the case may be. But I personally do not think it is a recondite point of law. It has been dealt with in the past, and we have a precedent. In law, the issue of stare decisis, relying on decided cases is very, very paramount and important. The other point I like to make was when my colleague talks about sitting governors and how you cannot take them to court. That is true to the extent that they cannot be sued in their official capacity. But they can be sued as nominal parties to a particular suit. And that is why you have cases against government, cases against governors, in their nominal capacities and so on and so forth. So, like he said, I do agree that whereas we are all surprised that this is going to be relitigated again, it gives us a clearer opportunity and an added advantage to make this point, to the best of our competencies and the best opportunity we could have to determine this matter once and for all.
Okay. Mr. Tony in Enugu, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
How are you doing?
Thank you for calling in.
I say greetings to your panelists.
Sure. Thank you.
One, I want to talk on the Ebonyi issue. The governor...
We're waiting.
Yeah, the governor was removed by a law court of competent jurisdiction. But look at cases like in Kogi, the Audu saga, the Audu case, the death Audu of APC. We look at the Rotimi Amechi case and other cases. That is why we are calling for real coming together to discuss these things. The Constitution is flawed in so many ways. It gives from one hand and takes from the other hand. Now, how can I vote for you to go and represent me, and you should go vote without telling me? You ought to call people where the INF will come back and you tell them you want to defect. Let there be a vote for people to now say, okay, go. How can you do a thing like that? Because you have yourself at the helm of affairs of my state, and you just go away like that. It is not fair. No matter what the law says, we should talk morality here. You guys out there, the three of you, you are anchoring. How can another man take over from you? It's not possible. It will appear as if it's stopping your function. So let's look at it holistically. These things are not right. How do we move forward in this country? If we put legal jargons and all these things, we'll say, okay, the other court in Zamfara. In Zamfara, is it right? Morally, are they right? that a governor was voted APC and they were removed, all of them, both the house, then PDP entered. And the next day, the same PDP governor went over to APC. The same party that was
well,
that is not fair.
You're overstating it
is not
slightly, shall we say? Okay, but thank you very much for calling in, Daria. There's a point you got to, and I saw that you shook your head, say not quite.
Don't bring it's not as he stated it, like I say, this can only be similar cases. They're not the same, and we must establish the differences.
So what's the way forward? Because court processes, they say the wheels of justice sometimes grind very slowly. I don't know, Malaki, what can we hope for in this kind of a situation where the court has pronounced, the justice has made his statement, but the governor has said, I'm sitting tight.
Well, I hope and I wish that he will find a way to retract those statements. Because it doesn't speak well of him or the state. I have always seen him as a gentleman from the way he comes across. But to have lost it on the spur of the moment, the heat of the passion, was a bit disturbing to me. But talking about the law, the law is clear and certain in his favor. Under the Court of Appeal Act, Section 25(2), he can't go on appeal. He can appeal against the judgment. Under Section 241(42), he can appeal. He has a right to appeal, even as against the judgment. That said, it requires the expertise of the lawyers who are handling this matter to craft the grounds of appeal in a way that enables the appellate court to deal with the meat of this matter. But like somebody was saying, after all the law and grammar we talk about, how does a nation intend to proceed, drawing lessons from what has just happened? I think part of the anger of the people is that we couldn't have voted for you while in this party, and suddenly midstream, you jump ship, you just cross carpet. It is not true that we would have voted for you if you were in this other party. I think those are the issues that come up. So I think that the National Assembly will also take advantage of this, even if I do not subscribe to these piecemeal amendments, to look into those aspects that will enable us to deal with the exigencies of our experiences as we move on.
Okay. Can we move on, even though we can never exhaust a subject like this, but let's move on a bit, talking about the situation over in Osun now, where according to the way one paper put it, two governorship candidates at parallel primaries in Osun. But, having taken care of the headline, there is also a point of view in Osun that there was no such thing as a parallel primary. There was only one, because INEC was represented at that. The headquarters of PDP was represented at that. And the other one being called a parallel one was not visited by either of those two gentlemen. Taking it, first of all, you cover these kind of things. So what exactly is going on?
Osun PDP primary election held yesterday, and earlier in the day, at the primary election monitored by INEC and supervised by the team from the national headquarters of the PDP.
Yes.
Senator Ademola Adeleke was declared winner.
Exactly.
But few hours later, but don't. It's important to also state that while that primary election was going on in Osogbo, I think at the stadium, at the Women's Center in the same city, another group of PDP chieftains with some aspirants also there were holding what they called a parallel election, a parallel primary election. And hours after the declaration of Adeleke, they declared their own candidate in the person of Mr. Dotun. Babayemi. And they made it clear that theirs is the authentic primary election. You see, while It looks very simple because of the statement issued today by the national headquarters.
Okay.
I will tell you, politically, it is not that simple. We have seen instances like this, where the national leadership of the party would say, no, this is the one we monitored, INEC was here, and this. A good example is that of the sitting senator in Cross River North. And the man is succeeded, the man who was voted in, but the court removed that fellow and put him in, saying his own primary somehow. Using points of law. It's authentic.
I like the word somehow.
Also, I can also tell you.
The word somehow can do so much in Nigeria and putting perspective into matters.
Yeah. We've also seen instances where a primary election is held, a candidate emerge, somebody somewhere and some people says no, that was a primary election, and they go to court. And the court says, we don't know who the candidate is yet. This party does not have a candidate. And the election proceeds. River State is in our mind. 2019. So there are instances. There is also the case of Anambra, the most recent. 2-3 people all lay claim to the candidature of a party. So what I'm trying to say is that, like the Yorubas will say, they will say, Adete, ole male fun wara, but ole da wara. You see, a leper may not be able to help you
milk a cow.
But
it can conveniently spill all that has been milk.
It does not need
very
easily to do that.
And
okay.
That's the danger.
Yes,
thank you.
My brother, thank you. That sits perfectly into my own perspective about it. As we cut these trees, we must watch the direction of the fell. So much has happened in our polity to suggest that our politicians have also become deliberate in their actions. This is precisely why some of us have taken our time to critique the over-judicialization of our electoral processes. It does seem as though while the serious politicians will focus on programs and activities, many more will be looking at the loopholes that could possibly be tapped into with a view to creating a situation that will take them back to the courts. In other words, they are not relying on the votes of the people. They are aiming at the intervention of the courts to do their bidding. So otherwise, what is the purpose of this one? Where is it headed? You would find that what is sought to be achieved is that soon after the declaration of the winner, there will be people who would say, no, he is not a candidate of the political party. And as you shout on top of your voices, they will proceed to the court with what they have also documented. It is precisely for this reason that the electoral reforms are taking place. For instance, in the new Electoral Act, the election monitoring body is no longer as helpless as it used to be in the past, where the RO will just mention what he wants, and that is the end of it. INEC has the power, with this reform that has just taken place, to be able to review what its returning officer in the polling booth have declared. This is with a view to checking some of these absurdities. Otherwise, why would you find INEC in a particular venue where dates were earlier given? Why would you find the party delegations, and then the same party will find another convergence in a place other than that centrally agreed? I imagine that the whole idea is to be able to create the foundation to proceed to court and contest what has happened.
Yeah, but it's also important to say this about what happened in Osun. It was not without a foundation. Days to this primary election, ranks broke over the authentic list of delegates. These are incidents that we can draw from in the past that has always turned judgment in certain directions that baffles us. Should the court in future say the delegate list used by these parallel people is authentic? We all begin to wonder. These are issues that we call pre-election matters. And these are the things they are going to take to court. Look, how did the delegates used in the monitored primary emerge? who are the authentic state, because there are also another issue which is still in court. The authentic state leadership of the party in Osun State. We have Wale Ojo, we have BC, I've forgotten the other name. So, should the court declare that Wale Ojo is the authentic candidate, then everything done by BC and his group will become invalidated. And that's the one the National Secretariat is standing by. And how did the two of them emerge? There were people before them. Who is the authentic among those who handed over to them? So it's a long battle of supremacy and control, which culminated in what we saw
what happened yesterday. Good morning, Chief Ade in the UK. How do you see it?
Dr. Yori, good morning, sir. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
The way I see this thing is that we're all lawyers, all of us. Everybody's lawyer, to the best of my knowledge.
Just like everybody's a football expert when Nigeria is playing.
Me, for example, I was called to the bar in 1970.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, I thought you were joking.
That is beer parlor. Now, what I'm trying to say is that the problem of Nigeria today, to be sincere on a serious note, is the judiciary. Look at Edo Assembly. Only 8 members, and a judge give that judgment. 8 members, contrary to the constitution of Nigeria, and they are still there. 8 members, and nothing is being done. The problem of Nigeria is not Buhari, it's the judiciary. A state high court have dismissed this case, and they now run to Abuja for high court, and the same level of court are now saying, give me another one, contrary to the state one. So I don't know how things can work like that. A sitting governor that have been sworn in one election, sworn in serving, and you are not saying you should leave. PDP is now saying they appointed Mr. This and Mr. This without any checking, without any security service verifying those people. They just be there as a governor. We are not banana republic. This is wrong. So the judiciary, please, don't destroy our country for us.
All right.
Do your job seriously, then we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ade. To the point that he made, that to the rest of us, of course, lawyers are the people you find in the judiciary, but so to the rest of us, they really are confusing matters and preventing us, as it were, from being able to understand how they arrive at their decisions, because it is lawyers that also gave us the word precedent. It's happened before. A present case is going to be guided to the extent possible by what has happened before in this court. So the point that Mr. Ade in the UK is making is that the judiciary, maybe inadvertently, is confusing the rest of us. After all, the judiciary doesn't work for itself. It works for the benefit of the citizenry.
That's correct. Mr. Ade is not far from stating the obvious. Even members of the judiciary and bar are becoming scandalized by what is happening. Make no mistake about it. The court that earlier took a position on that matter in Ebonyi State is a state high court. Yeah. The one that just determined the matter yesterday is a federal high court. Both are courts of coordinate jurisdiction. They are all high courts. The one is state high court, the other one is federal high court. So where they now take contrary views on the same set of facts, I mean, how would you blame any other person who becomes confused by that? So, and I think that these are the issues that have engaged the judiciary, even the bar in recent times, which is precisely why I say that Mr. Ade is not too far from stating the obvious. But I think, like I said, moving forward, the Umahi, who has shown his anger and disaffection of what has happened, reserve the right to appeal against this matter. Is it PDP, has its own responsibility to go meet them over there at the appellate court. And I think that with a further deliberation, judicial intervention on this matter, the picture will become clearer and perhaps become much more settled than it is at the moment.
Okay. Mr. Elijah, thank you very much for calling in and holding on. Mr. Elijah is calling in from Calabar. Mr. Elijah?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Right. My name is Elijah. I just want to contribute to the question on grants.
Sure.
For me, I'm an indigenous of Ebonyi State.
Okay.
And for me, I don't think that the contest is the removal or the defection. The issue is who's supposed to be the bona fide, who's supposed to benefit from the people's mandate. Is it the party or the governor? So I know that His Excellency run under PDP, and the people of Ebonyi gave him their mandate. And now the party that lost is the party that is ruling the state. In law, is it normal? Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
That's where we started.
Mr.
Elijah
probably was reading my mind, I must tell you. Because while Barrister was submitting, perfectly I agree with him. But I am hoping somehow, Okiori, somewhere in my mind, I'm hoping that this particular case will head in a direction that will help solidify our democracy the more. How do I mean? That it is not morally justifiable for you to be voted for based on the manifesto of Party A that says education is going to be our priority. The people of the state saw Party B saying employment is going to be our own priority. And then they sat down, they looked at it, what do we need? What we need is education. We already have small industries that our boys are, building. Let's have education. So they went with Party A. And you invite. Only for you, midway or quarter way into your tenure, you are defecting, cross-carpeting into a party that is touting something contrary to their expectation. While politics will remain politics, politicians will continue to want to play politics. I think we need to move our democracy forward by ensuring that the people's, when we talk about the people's wish coming to pass, this is one of it. The people voted for what they wanted, but by the actions or inactions of some people, they are having what they did not wanted on their hand.
Well, we're going to have to leave
so I am of the opinion that maybe it's going to be through constitutional amendments, whether it's going to be through restructuring or electoral act further amendment. I want to say a situation where politicians will know that you cannot turn your white cloth to black all of a sudden. It is like changing the goalpost in the middle of a match.
We're going to have to leave it there, but Barrister, just and very, very short.
Yes, I subscribe to further amendments of the Constitution. It is for that reason that, we already have that position to deal with members of the legislature. I've mentioned the constitutional provision, section 68(1)(g), that says what happens if a legislature, whether at the federal level or state level, defects. Once he's unable to predicate that on crisis in his party, he wants to lose the seat. Okay. So it could be extended to the governor. That lacuna, that oblique picture regarding the executive is what has led to this situation.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Malaki Ugumadu, constitutional lawyer and former president of Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. And also thanks to Dare Udufo, assistant editor, The Nation newspapers. Thank you both gentlemen
for helping us
understand all of this. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.